What if a single question from an ordinary duck could expose a hidden war beyond time and turn laughter into prophecy? In a Relic finally translated his voice, the flock found its pontiff, while the machine's beautiful secrets revealed a warning no one had truly understood. But the story doesn't end there. Twin-lidded eyes shimmer across the research pond outside Melbourne as Darrel wades through the black water, for every metallic ripple around his body turning a common duck's chaos into a warning from the end of time. The flock answers him with a storm of raw quacks, and beneath all that noise, a deeper hunger starts to surface. The aching need to believe that somewhere inside this ordinary organic life, a single true voice is waiting to be heard. He does not drift with the flock or squabble for crumbs. Darrel moves with the calm of something that has already seen the end and come back carrying instructions. Beneath that soft mechanical hum lives a harder truth. This strange visitor is not a curiosity dropped into Melbourne by accident, but a prophet from the far future arriving to save a story before it is lost in noise. And in that instant, the deeper question takes shape like a pulse under the waterline. How does the oldest wisdom of the flock survive when only a machine can make anyone listen? Strapped across Darrel's back, a weatherproof bundle knocks softly against his feathers with every deliberate step, and the scientists watching from the bank still mistake it for salvage until he lowers himself and lets them see the shape of it. Inside sits DIXPORD, the translator that can seize a wild burst of ancestral quacks and press it into flowing language, a machine built to do more than decode noise. In that instant, the deeper question slips into the room like cold air. How does simple truth survive 10,000 generations of chaos unless someone or something? Chapter 1, DIXPORD in the mud. When Darrel lowers himself onto the mud and shrugs the bundle from his back, the casing lands with the care of a holy object and a weapon at the same time. Inside waits DIXPORD, a translator built to seize the raw quacks of duckkind and pull from them something shaped legible and terrifyingly beautiful. As if 10,000 generations have been trapped behind a beak with no human ear sharp enough to hear them, Darrel does not carry it for spectacle. He carries it because chaos without a voice dies as noise. Their hands move before their minds do because DIXPORD gleams with the cold authority of a miracle stripped for parts, and that is enough to drown out the warning standing right in front of them. Darrel carries the future on his back to preserve 10,000 generations of duckkind, yet the scientists on the bank lean toward the casing, not the pilgrim, chasing circuits while his mission beats against the silence like a second heart. The deeper hunger is already there, a room full of human beings staring at chaos, desperate to force meaning out of noise. Darrel keeps moving with the patience of something older than panic, because glory has nothing to do with why he comes here. He carries a future where the union of the Peking duck has crossed a technological singularity, where feather and circuitry fuse so completely that faith itself survives inside the machine. That is why he endures the stares, the bright lights, the human hands, to warn of war, to preserve the lore, and to stitch a living bridge between the organic flock behind him and the cybernetic saints waiting at the far end of time. Chapter 2, the Pond Operating Theater. The research pond outside Melbourne turns into an operating theater the moment Darrel stops resisting their touch, because every set of human eyes locks onto the bundle and misses the messenger carrying it. The linguist stands among the clipboards and laser sensors with her notebook pressed flat against her chest, watching engineers, linguists, and cryptographers ease DIXPORD from his back as if careful hands could excuse the fact that they are listening to circuitry before they listen to the living bird who brought it. They unstrap DIXPORD from Darrel's back with the kind of care usually reserved for relics and explosives, because one wrong pull could tear open the only bridge anyone has ever touched between duck song and meaning. Engineers crowd close, linguists lean over shoulders, cryptographers chase symbols across its skin, and every expert who thought they came here to study chaos now stares at a machine that makes their theories feel small. Under a white lamp, the translator lies silent while human hands circle it for months, peeling back circuits and glyphs as if faith itself has been soldered into metal. They attack DIXPORD with the patience of scholars and the hunger of explorers, peeling back its circuits, decoding its glyphs, mapping logic that behaves like prayer written in electricity. Every failure drives them deeper, so they feed it poetry, prophecy, frantic mallard honks, the quiet wisdom of geese, and the scrawled notes of 1,000 failed experiments, forcing chaos through a machine they barely understand. Then the translator answers in sentences so beautiful that hardened researchers freeze at their workstations and weep before they can explain what exactly has just touched them. Chapter 3, Ask Duck Himself. Across that frenzy, the linguist keeps writing until her cramped hand gives out, then looks down at the one creature who has never needed decoding at all. Duck, the small Peking duck she raises from a chick. Loud enough to cut through machinery, brave enough to waddle toward every danger first, and so certain he belongs at the center of the world that even the chaos seems to part for him. The linguist steadies her notebook, looks straight at the ordinary bird at her feet, and makes the smallest gamble in the room feel enormous. Ask him what he thinks of us, said the linguist. DIXPORD answers with a low hum, then a shiver of light racing across its skin, as if every circuit inside it has just been handed a question too heavy for metal alone. When Duck's own rough, honking voice finally comes out of the machine, every hand in the room goes still. The translator hums like a throat clearing after 10,000 generations of silence, and every light racing across DIXPORD's surface pins the linguist in place. A beat passes. Then another. Then Duck's own voice pours out of the machine, rough and bright and impossibly sure, and the room hears the first crack in the wall between chaos and meaning. Chapter 4, Sermon Through the Relic. What comes out of DIXPORD is no ordinary answer, but a full sermon in Duck's own rough, ringing voice, each honk carrying the accumulated spiritual wisdom of 10,000 generations. He blesses the flock, sanctifies the laugh, and turns a single shared joke into a pillar strong enough to hold an entire world together. Every failed note on the linguist's pages suddenly has a pulse. The meaning they have been chasing does not arrive as data, it arrives as faith made audible. The room does not breathe. The linguist feels her hands tremble over the table as Duck, small enough to be dismissed and bold enough to ignore it, waddles past the frozen scientists and plants himself at the front like he has been waiting his whole life for everyone else to catch up. Then he quacks once sharp and certain, and the sound lands with the force of a verdict, for he has been speaking all along. Duck does not become remarkable when the machine speaks. He has been rehearsing this rise every day, shoving his small chest into the wind, out-quacking the flock, and waddling to the front as if some buried instinct keeps telling him the front is where truth belongs. The miracle only strips away the last excuse for ignoring him. Because the same bird once dismissed as noisy suddenly carries a voice the whole world can understand. Chapter 5, Beneath the Duck Banner. When the flock assembles beneath a banner sketched in the shape of a duck, the hesitation dies before it can even form. They have already heard Duck's words pass through the machine, and now that sound settles into them with the force of instinct, simple and absolute. No committee forms, no argument survives, because certainty moves through the crowd faster than language ever could. The translator crackles, and the pond-side noise collapses into stunned silence as Duck lifts his bill and speaks with the gravity of something far older than his feathers. Quack and no peace, said Duck, and the words move through the crowd like warm water, steadying hands, lowering shoulders, making even the skeptics stand still long enough to listen. But then he presses deeper, simple and absolute. The duck is eternal. The laugh is sacred. Hands reach for Duck with the care people usually reserve for relics. Lifting a miter of crispy skin over his head and pressing a wishbone staff against his breast, as if the whole strange universe has finally found the shape of its authority, titles fall onto him in a flood, one after another, each one more reverent and more ridiculous than the last. His webbed holiness, the crispy father, the oracle of autocorrect, the great bill, the waddler, the quackin'. Duck does not flinch beneath any of it. Months of prying meaning out of DIXPORD leave the scientists changed, because every wire they trace and every impossible pattern they decode binds them tighter to the machine they once treat as an object. They become his first cardinals in everything but name before the title ever lands, standing shoulder to shoulder around the sacred circuitry like mechanics at the edge of a miracle. To be honest, once a box built from the end of time gives a duck the weight of 10,000 generations. Nobody in that room is pretending this is ordinary work anymore. The linguist stares at the ordinary Peking duck in front of her, notebook trembling in her hand, because the entire storm of chaos now narrows to one living throat and one question asked at exactly the right moment. Duck does what he has always done. He waddles forward, loud, brave, curious, and when his voice comes through the machine, it carries more than sound. It carries a faith that has been waiting inside the flock for 10,000 generations. That is how the duck pope rises, not from conquest or design, but from a single duck daring to speak and a single human being choosing to listen.